Alright, welcome back to my channel, guys. It's been a long time since I posted something. I have been working really hard at what I think my key issue was at the eventing derby, which is that Happy is and has always been very fearful about being forward. So what I mean by that is that when I ride Happy, he's very behind my leg. I have to use a lot of leg to keep him going, and I've always had to do this. And you'll see me in my rides kicking every post, basically. Every time I post, I kick. I don't use spurs or whips anymore. I did used to use spurs. I used to use a crop and a dressage whip. I kind of stopped doing that because he got progressively better. But we've gotten to a point now where he's still really reluctant to move. And before anybody jumps in and is like, oh, he's in pain and blah, blah, blah. No, he's not. We've done all the vet stuff. Obviously, he had PSSM, has it, he's managed, he's not in pain. This is all remnants of poor training that was done to him when he first learned under saddle stuff. So our method to get through this now is to encourage him to go forward and realize that by going forward, he can relax and he can be in control of that, and nothing bad's going to happen, and he doesn't need to be anxious, because that's part of the problem. So if I was at the horse show and I was able to have him move forward, I feel like instead of his energy going up and wanting to rear or stop and spin, which is how I fell off, I feel like he could have kind of just cantered it out and been fine and relaxed and realized that he could have gotten relaxation through the forward. So that's been basically the last almost month now of work that we've done with Happy, is to get him to be truly forward. So I'm going to go through this video, the last 3 weeks of video, and kind of talk about the methods that we use to get him to be more ahead of my leg. And you'll see the transformation of how he rides through that. So let's just get right into the video. Okay, so I'm going to start with just saying that we did not use force to get Happy to go forward. I know a lot of people would use spurs, whips, kicking, whatever. For this, we used, in the start, we used flapping my legs. So I tried my hardest to basically have almost no contact when my legs would come down, but really put the force on the up. And that kind of stopped working only because I could not get my timing right, because my legs would get so tired from doing that I couldn't release the flapping when he actually went forward. And so we were trying to reward at the very beginning just an intent to go forward, not even like a transition and a trot or something. It's just, oh, I'm going to speed up my walk. So after that failed for me, which you'll see me doing this in the beginning of this video, but after that failed for me, I started with using my rein. So I took the end of my rein and I would just kind of go back and forth. And there's a really good part of this video that you're going to see just how much contact that was, which is basically zero contact on him. I either hit my boots with it to make a noise, or I was basically just flopping it back and forth. So I really don't want anyone to think that this was like some kind of force that I used. I'm really worried that I'm going to get that kind of comment and critique, but it really was not, because the whole point was we didn't want him to be tense. And so we felt like if we added a lot of pressure and force, he would become very tense, and then the whole point of this exercise would be ruined, because we wanted him to remain relaxed and to kind of be in probably a heightened anxiety state going into the transition and going faster in the beginning, because it's a scary thing for him, but eventually realize that once he goes, he's going to relax, and he can relax and just lift into his transitions. Alright, so a few other things. Happy uses a couple methods to avoid going forward. His first method that he has done from the first day I rode him is to spin to the left. So he'll spin to the left or do a tight circle to the left. The second thing that he does is he'll try to put an object in front of him. So he'll either take himself to a jump, he'll take himself to another horse, he'll take himself to my pivot, so my camera, he'll take himself to Stephanie. Basically anything that he can put in front of us that basically will make it so that I stop putting the pressure on for him to go. And you can see here, this is the video I was going to say, where you can see just how much contact he is getting, which is none. It's more so he can see the movement and his eyesight as opposed to just kicking the crap out of him. So yeah, this is how he avoids any type of forward, and he still does it. He has stopped in the last week with really doing it in the beginning of a ride. He basically like just takes me like flapping the reins like once or twice and then we're off. But once he starts to get tired or mentally fatigued, then he starts to put me in front of fences. So this is an example of where he is like, I'm going to go to this fence, and that didn't work out for him because the pressure didn't stop. And basically he's just learning now that pressure of my seat, or right now the reins flapping, means just go forward, and that's it. And you'll see as soon as he takes off into the trot, because this is kind of where we were on this day, was getting him into that transition, I stop. Every time I feel like he gets a little bit faster, I stop, even if it's for a half a second, and then we continue again, just so that he knows that there's going to be a break in it, and that he knows that that forward was what we wanted and that was good, and he can have like a millisecond of relief from all of that. And here, you'll see, is where he finally starts to soften and kind of soften over his top line and start stretching and realizing that this forward stuff really isn't that scary and nothing bad's going to happen, and all we want is for him to just go forward and stretch into the contact. So that was basically the end of the first ride for this. Might be just a little bit more riding on this day, but we were really, really pleased with him and actually moving. So yeah, there's just a little bit more. Also, which was very interesting to note, the first couple weeks, Happy only wanted to go right. He would not offer anything to the left, and it took us until, I think, the next video, which is August 7th, which is 2.5 weeks into this, where he finally was okay going to the left. It was very interesting. And he, I think, had an injury to the left because his left hind will come up short. Sometimes it is tight a lot through his quad and his stifle, and so I think he must have had an injury to his left hind, and that's probably why he didn't want to go left when we were forcing him to do all of this forward. But he's now going both directions and he's fine. But yeah, that was an interesting thing, that he did not want to go left for the first couple weeks. So anyways. Okay, and something of note. First of all, these transitions are not that bad. He's not like leaping into them and getting really sassy. He's a little sassy. But can we just like appreciate that I'm not even really doing anything at this stage for his canter, and he actually is almost stretching at the canter? I was just like so pleased with him. Like when I watched this back, I was like, oh my goodness, look at how good he looks. Look at how much he's stretching, and like how much he just looks so much more relaxed under saddle. And yes, my leg is still moving, but like I was trying so hard not to actually kick. It's something I have to work on now to really quiet my feet. But oh my goodness, I was just so thrilled with him. So from the beginning of this ride, we started out a lot more forward than we were. Any other ride. He definitely came out and was really like basically one or two like flips back and forth with the reins, and he was going. The only thing was he came out a little bit not pushing as much from the hind as he could. So we did ask for just a little bit more forward. He did try, and you'll see a couple clips later, he did try to run to the other horse and try to avoid forward with that. but the other horse was actually good and tried to bite him, which I was very, very pleased about, because there's nothing that I can do to get him other than dragging him away from the other horse, and that doesn't really solve our problems. So I was actually happy that Snuffy helped me out with this particular situation. So yeah, so this is August 7th, so almost 3 weeks after restarting all this forward with him. So yeah, here we go. Okay, I'm hoping that my dogs do not make a bunch of weird noises in the background of this, but I wanted to comment on this particular situation with Happy and cantering. So my trainer wanted me to start posting the canter to kind of help him lift into the canter, so that's what you're going to see me like throwing myself over his shoulder basically to help him engage more from the hind and lift the front more. So I don't do it the whole ride, and I just kind of try to get pace and then do it. Oh, this is the video. Oh boy. Okay, so this is when I asked him for more forward with the posting, and then he thought, okay, more forward means that we should probably pace. So that's what's gonna happen soon. I asked him for more forward here, and then he was doing really well, but he's actually quite weak. So the left, again, I'm bringing up the fact that I think his left hind had an injury. and so it's harder for him to maintain a canter to the left. And so here we go into the pace. I had no idea what to do. I basically was like, do I post? Do I 2-point? I was trying to get him to canter. Every time I asked him to go faster or do more, he just paced faster. This is literally the most pace that Happy has ever offered. He actually felt super balanced in the pace. I've never felt him feel like he wasn't going to fall over when he was pacing. And he just kept doing it. And so I was like, both of us, Stephanie and I, were not surprised that he offered that when I asked for more forward. But yeah, it was really actually kind of fun. So then we ask for the trot again, and then we pick up the canter, and he goes right back into canter. So anybody who thinks that standardbreds can't canter and all of that, I mean, this is living proof that a horse can go from a racing pace back into the canter just fine.
A breather. That was actually surprisingly
I love that through the course of this voiceover, my hair has progressively dried. So this is the following day after my lesson. This is August 8th. So basically a week ago, almost. Well, when this is out, a week ago. Really just great work with him on this day. So I started out before everybody got to the arena, and I felt like I had a little bit of tension going into the arena, so he was a little bit tense, and I was a little bit not giving with my hands. I feel like I was holding a lot. Like you'll see in the beginning of this ride, I kind of keep my hands in my lap as opposed to like really giving with my elbows. So we did have to work through a little bit of that, but he worked through it really well towards the end of the ride. This ride, he had some really beautiful moments, really lifting, really through his back, and it was really great. The only weird thing that he did in this ride, which he kind of had been starting over the course of the last several rides, was he started to like open and close his mouth a lot and like start to really play with his tongue, which is something that he does when we do groundwork or any other type of work with him, where he is like kind of on the verge of like a actual like release. And so it's similar to licking and chewing, but I would imagine it's like licking and chewing with a lot of anxiety. Sorry. I got a text message. So we decided in my ride that I did today, that you'll see some clips of, to ride in the bit to see if the bit would help him to release some of that tension that he's feeling. So you see like his little lips are like pursed, and then he kind of is like moving his mouth around, and it's just like a bunch of like little things that we noticed, and we're like, maybe let's see now that he's truly going to put the bit in his mouth and see if we can get him to get a little bit of a release through using the bit over his tongue and like hyoid area. So yeah, you'll notice that he's doing that, and that was just, I think, the anxiety of going forward. It's like the final little bit of that anxiety kind of coming out. And the final piece to this was I wanted to actually start working on my 2-point, And I realized when I went into my 2-point for the first time just there, which that was a little bit punitive, I apologize for that, that without my post, he was like, oh, we're not going forward anymore. So I realized that me practicing my 2-point would help me practice my 2-point and also help Happy to realize he needs to keep going on his own without help from me. So once he figured that out and he was like, okay, just keep trotting, then he kept trotting and I was able to practice my 2-point a little bit, and then he really started to stretch too. So I incorporated that again in my ride today. I started actually with a little bit of 2-point just to kind of get him moving on his own and freely underneath me. But yeah, it was actually kind of nice that I get to almost like kill 2 birds with 1 stone in a sense, that I get to I was not trying to go over that jump. That was one of his aversions to forward. I get to practice my 2-point and it gets him to be more forward without me pushing. So I started this ride off doing 2-point just to kind of get out of his face and just let him figure himself out. This was the first ride with the bit that we did. So I really wanted to just like give him a loose rein, chuck the rein to him, and let him kind of work on the bit a little bit. So I started out that way, and then we moved into a little bit more work posting and cantering and all of that. We did jump today. I did not include the video because it was just kind of horrific. I haven't jumped really consistently in like a month, so it was pretty horrific. What it looked like, it's going better than I'm making it sound, but I just didn't want to post anything because it wasn't really that useful. The only thing I really did want to comment on is in this ride, he did a couple of canter transitions where he literally just kind of stepped into the canter, and it was awesome. I mean, look at this. This is an amazing trot. So yeah, this is definitely working for us. So I think we'll definitely keep working at this and getting him more ahead of my leg. And then hopefully in the future, it'll work better for me riding him. We do have a show coming up at the end of the month, and then we have another show at the middle of September. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think he's going to do really well for him. Who knows if we'll place, but he'll do well for him. I think we're planning to do hunters this time, just that we're not there all day, and we can do cross rails. Obviously with hunters you can't do cross rails and jumpers, so we're going to do the cross rail division, and then if all goes well I'm going to do the 2-foot hunters with him, and hopefully everything works out. So yeah, there'll be a show vlog coming up in the next couple weeks, but I think until then it'll just be more of regular old barn vlogs. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed watching this progression of Happy and I working through some of his issues with being forward and ahead of my leg. It was definitely really difficult for me to want to post this because I feel like I'm going to get a lot of armchair trainers that might watch this and want to tell me what I did or didn't do wrong, and that I'm beating my horse and I'm kicking my horse and oh, I'm just a terrible rider, trainer, whatever. So I was really hesitant to post any of this content, but I felt like it's true to our channel, it's true to what I'm doing with the channel, and I just want to post it so that everyone can see what we've been doing and what we've been up to and how we work through some of the things that are really big problems for me and Happy. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, and hit the notification bell. And if you've made it this far into this 30-minute video, I am so happy that you are here. So definitely leave a comment. Let me know if you made it all the way to the end. Thank you guys so much for watching.